because you may see me pause occasionally as I read the messages in that chat box real time. If you have any questions during the presentation, just enter those into the chat box as we're chatting and singing the praises of road schooling opportunities. If you have experience with road schooling, we would love to hear about it. If you have road schooling tips you would like to share, we'd love to see those in the chat box. So fasten your seatbelt. We're about to hit the road and bring academic subjects of all stripes out of the book and into real life with road schooling. So road schooling can take many shapes. It can be full-time, get rid of your house and move into an RV or boat, traveling the world, a country, or a region. You've probably seen blogs of families doing just that. I love it. We have some ShillerLearning families who are full-time traveling across the country and even sailing around the world. And those stories are just fascinating to hear. And yes, those folks love the fact that they can access PDFs of all of the lesson books with our kits so they can save the space of having to take along books. And that's going to be, one of the tips, especially if you are, the longer that you're going to be traveling, the less that you need to take with you, the better. So being able to, maximize any resources that can be stored digitally is going to help with the packing. And ShillerLearning, if you buy, if you have one of our physical kits, then you have access to all of the downloads. Even if you've never accessed those, just realize that you have the ability to have all of your printed material in digital form, as well as downloads of all of the songs. Our activity packs, of course, they are all digital as well. And there are a wide variety of digital resources available to you. One of my favorites, and it's free, is the Library of Congress. There are tons of resources available for you, audiobooks, art, as well as books that you can use for family read alouds, and those will make a nice end to an evening traveling. So you don't have to go all in to get the benefits of road schooling. You can utilize vacation time for an educational road trip, learning about the history of colonial America, for example, by visiting places like Boston, Philadelphia, or colonial Williamsburg, by visiting those places rather than just reading a textbook and doing worksheets will make that subject matter, whether it's history, science, or even math, come alive in a way it doesn't otherwise. And it will stay with them over time, as opposed to sometimes that textbook learning. Once we're finished with a test, we don't really um, retain or think about that information long term, whereas an experience is going to stay with that child for life. Sites with living history are a family favorite of ours, depending on your amount of vacation time, your budget, how much downtime you want to include in your trip. You could include a single city or a route with several destinations in your plan. And you can theme your trip around a topic or geography or your child's interest. And that way, it's good to pick a theme because you're not going to be able to do everything, take advantage of everything that an area has to offer. So by picking a theme to your trip, that means that you can go to the same destination multiple times and have an entirely new experience also. Okay, so in addition to taking vacation time and turning that into an educational opportunity, weekend getaways are another way to include road schooling in your family's learning. This is going to be easier for a lot of families to fit into their schedule. You don't have to use up that paid time off. And if you have a lot of different activities, sports and dance, and as the kids get older, jobs, the weekend getaways tend to be easier to get everyone away together at the same time. Now, with the weekend getaway, it's really recommended that you select a destination that's up to about within a 3-hour radius of your home base, so that a disproportionate amount of your time is not eaten up by travel. Washington, D.C. has been a favorite destination for our family, and that is, within that 3-hour range. But we've done up to a 6-hour trip for a weekend getaway, but really that somewhere up to the 3-hour is going to be your sweet spot. Homeschool conventions, by the way, they also make an excellent long weekend educational trip. A lot of the homeschool conventions are in destination locations that have a lot of family activities and historical sites in the area. And of course, you can work shopping for new curriculum, listening to inspirational workshops into the trip. And most of the conventions also now have fabulous children's programs that the kids can go into and be engaged in a meaningful way while you're getting to listen to the workshops or shopping. Okay, day trips are another way of road schooling. So we can take that into even smaller bites. Amusement parks. What kid would not love going to an amusement park and using that as an avenue to learn about physics and science? Most amusement parks, if you dig through their websites, actually have educational guides to walk you through the science of their amusement rides. And that's something, pretty much everyone in the country has an amusement park close enough that you can make that a day trip. And then let's not forget our local errands for road schooling. These have been golden for my own family and making use of, yeah, so yes, most amusement parks do have a PDF download generally, and that is the ones that I have encountered have been free resources that you can download from their sites. So if you are planning an amusement park trip, if you don't see one off the bat, sometimes they are a little hidden, uh, and it might be under a classroom resource or um, teachers or educators. And by the way, let's see, Six Flags, I know for sure that they have educational guides. And you can also, they have a program where kids from, I believe it is kindergarten through sixth grade, if they do a certain amount of reading through the school year, they can actually get free admission to one of their parks. And so you can sign up for that. Actually, right now may be the time to sign up for that for next year. You sign up as a homeschool teacher. You will get a free pass as the teacher, and then each child in that age range will get a free pass as well. And so they have a whole educator section on their website. And again, it's going to be a digital resource, so it's one less thing that you have to pack. So that's going to be handy for that. Okay, so those local car trips are great for using audiobooks, but of course, audiobooks, those are going to be great for any length of trip. But for filling a short trip, it's a great way of sneaking in a little extra educational seminar. It's also a great time to have discussion about things that you're learning in homeschooling at home, and even quizzes. Spelling was never something that, any of my kids were particularly interested in sitting and practicing spelling words and doing spelling tests. And the car was a time that we worked a lot of that into discussion, asking, how to spell different words, and turning that into a game. So that's something that you can do with your language arts as well. And then those discussions, of course, can include things about those local errands that we're running. So that, as I've mentioned this before, homeschoolers are not going to need adulting classes that you see some of the general population needing right now. And um, and this is one of the ways that we can do that. So if we're going to the grocery store, we can discuss meal planning and budgeting and diet, nutrition, and just including our child in natural conversation as we are going to all of these different destinations, and our thinking and strategy behind all of those errands. So even a trip to the post office can be a great educational opportunity. So, you know, whether you're getting in the car for a short time or selling the house and, going into an RV and going to hit all 50 states, there is an opportunity to include learning on the road. While being spontaneous, showing up and just seeing what happens and where the road leads you can certainly be fun and result in a great time. However, you will maximize learning opportunities by doing some advanced planning. If you want your kids invested in the trip and all of its activities, all of its goals, then involve them in the planning. In addition to travel, tourism, state and local websites, you can use search engines to just throw out general searches for an area, such as, family events near the Grand Canyon. Is your child passionate about something? Well, you could search in the area for that topic and see what comes up. Oh, maybe there is some awesome statue of a giraffe made out of Legos that's 20 feet tall. And, you know, taking your child to see that, if they are nuts about Legos, is going to really help to excite them about the trip and everything along the way. It is fun to soak up the culture of an area by sampling the things that it has to offer. So, you know, think a wide variety that you want to research. So, historical sites, ghost tours, by the way, are a fun, quirky way of sneaking history in and often getting your child to remember historical events with great detail when those events are told through that avenue. Gettysburg has ghost tours that will have your kids remembering more about the battle than you could imagine. Science museums, art museums, children's museums, local restaurants, by the way, uh, recommend avoiding national chains. National chains are nice because no matter where we go in the country, we know exactly what we're going to get. But it really does rob you of getting that regional flavor and the feeling, a- um, and it can lead to feeling mistakenly like every city in the country is pretty much the same. Uh, and we do get that feeling when we travel around and hit just those national chains. So as often as possible, and that's where that doing that little bit of research in advance can help you find awesome local places to try, even if it's for grabbing a cup of coffee and avoiding places that are terrible, because that is one of the advantages of the national chain is okay, it's going to be good. It may not be fabulous, but you know what to expect. Whereas, those local places, you can find some wonderful gems that will give you a local experience. Another thing you can do research on ahead is researching organizations that are helping people, and then take an hour or two of time, depending on how much time that you're traveling for, working in volunteering in local communities is another fabulous way of connecting with local communities and getting a feel for that region. And of course, doing an awesome thing to help others. So, introducing your child to geography and the world, their place in the world, and different cultures is a wonderful way of getting them ready to travel wherever it is that you're going. Schiller Learning does have an awesome resource for this. It is our Around the World in 80 Activities. Again, this is a PDF download. So it's something that is easy to take wherever you are going. There are printable maps in here. And so with those printable maps, it can be fun to, track your journey and mark everywhere that your child has visited. Similar to, how if you are a Google user, you've got that map of all of your locations. If you've never looked at your map or weren't aware of that, you may want to look in your Google settings, because if you are a Google user and have not adjusted those settings, it is indeed tracking everywhere on Earth that you go 24 hours a day. But, having a map to record your child's journeys can be something that helps them to learn geography and also excites them about the trip. Another fabulous way of getting a feel for the local environment and local culture of a place is to visit uh, botanical gardens, local farms, or farmers markets, as well as flea markets. And in your research, keep an eye out for farm to table restaurants. And with that, you're going to get local agriculture as well as, local cuisine. And those tours often will be an opportunity to teach kids about sustainability as well. Okay, so now in your travels, you are, of course, going to want to make the most of your travel experience without spending more than you can afford. If you are road schooling full time, sometimes not only are you trying to balance spending, but you may be balancing work, trying to balance time working with time spent enjoying the travel experience. And, you want to be able to work enough to earn the money you need, but at the same time be able to enjoy the location. So, in that, saving money wherever possible is going to help in both of those goals. And one of the ways to do that is to use websites that will help your travel dollar go further and help you discover some local treats you might otherwise miss. Groupon is a great site. Groupon or similar discount sites, you can plug in your destination. For example, if you're going to Boston, Massachusetts, and you can pull up deals on dining, events, activities, museums, tours. You never know what you will find. When we had gone out to Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio for my son's graduation as an Army medic, we found great local restaurants and touristy attractions that we would not have gone to otherwise, and were great experiences. And that bonus, of course, is we saved money at the same time. Every Kid Outdoors, it's a program where you can get a uh, free pass to national parks for your child. And another thing to look into would be the National Park Service. If you're going to be doing a lot of camping, the National Park Service annual pass can help save you money on camping destinations. The Every Kid Outdoors program, by the way, that is for children in fourth grade. They qualify for a free annual pass, but it will work for, the entire family who's accompanying that child. Uh, okay, so you can also look for homeschool specific discounts or events. And a lot of places have a combination of those. For example, Colonial Williamsburg, they have generally a few weeks in the year where it's homeschool week, and they have classes and experiences specifically geared towards homeschool families. And you also get discounted admission on top of that. So homeschool events can be a great way of maximizing both your homeschool dollar as well as the learning experience that's available at a particular site. And in addition to those homeschool opportunities, keep in mind landmark events for a local area. If, for example, we were looking at Boston in Groupon. If you were going to Boston, maybe going around the time of the Boston Marathon and the kids getting to see that, especially if they're into running. Um, things of that nature, that the types of events that they're seeing on national news, to be able to say, hey, I was there once, I experienced that, can be something that they enjoy sharing with their families as they get older, or friends. And then even a simple trip to the beach can inspire learning that might otherwise not occur. So that trip to the beach can become a deep dive into oceans, continents, or marine biology. And we do have a oceans, a continents, excuse me, continents nomenclature card set that will include the oceans as well. That is going to be a great supplement to any program. But this is where, your documentaries are your friend. So in advance of a trip, you can, for example, with the beach, look up on Netflix, YouTube. PBS is a fabulous free source for quality documentaries on pretty much every subject out there. And you can just search their site. And for weeks or months in advance of your trip, just really dive into all of those resources that are available, so that by time they're there, and you can talk about continental shelves, and as they're standing in that beach and walking into the water, and they can think about those larger concepts and all of the aquatic life that is out in the ocean. uh, if you have a child who is a little timid and maybe I don't want to say easily scared, but I may have overdone it at one point with looking at what's living in the ocean prior to visiting it with one of my children, who now does not want to go in the ocean because of all of the things that are in it. Yes, and then the ocean, that's definitely a trip where you can collect things. So your seashells and all kinds of things that are on the beach make wonderful souvenirs that you can take along with you. Of course, you would not want to menace any living things, but yes, they're definitely, the ocean is a great trip for your child to be collecting things, and creating a collection of seashells or ocean rocks. So in addition to all of those touristy places that we think of, be sure to include some off the beaten path destinations. Those obscure things that people most people haven't heard of. And this is where that research that you have done along with the kids in the beginning is going to really pay off. It's impossible to see and do everything that each place has to offer. So, you do want to maximize the trip, but resist the temptation to overschedule. It can create cranky kids and parents. And without the appropriate downtime, you aren't going to enjoy or even remember the trip as much as you would otherwise. So, one of the ways that you can help to prevent yourself from overscheduling is to work in assigned downtime. This can be at a local nature site. Bring along those nature journals, and time at a In nature, it's going to be also a great time to practice listening skills, sitting in silence and noticing what you hear. Um, how are the sounds different from the sounds at home? It's also a good opportunity to simply lay on a blanket, stare at the clouds, and get feedback from the kids. What's been your favorite part of the trip so far? What did you like about it? And, is there anything that we've done that you would have liked to have done differently and why? So, getting that feedback in just uh, a relaxed situation where it's not in the moment, there's no pressure, can get some very honest, constructive feedback from the kids to help make the rest of the trip as well as future trips more enjoyable for everyone. And then while you are in nature, and speaking of those nature journals, pressed plants can also, just like those seashells and all the things that you find at the beach, make wonderful, inexpensive educational souvenirs. We do have instructions in our free summer activity pack for pressing plants and flowers, as well as some wonderful craft ideas to go along with those. So be sure to check out our blog. You can find, we have a category called free activities, and in there are just tons of fabulous free resources that make a wonderful supplement to any curriculum out there. And we do have a lot of, seasonal things like spring or summer activity packs. And then those pressed plants can also later be added to the nature journal, and your child can research, what those plants are and label them. And, depending on the age of your child, add additional information. And that's something that they are going to enjoy looking back through and reliving the experience of that fabulous trip that you took them on and the lifelong memories that you made together. Okay, so does anyone have any questions that we didn't get to, excuse me, that we didn't get to during the presentation? If you want to just pop those into the chat. I hope that after this long period that we've all had being cooped up, limited activity, and all sorts of venues being closed, that these tips will help you maximize the learning opportunities as you hit the road, be it for a local errand, a day trip, a weekend getaway, or if you are using your vacation time or doing that full time. If you are doing that um, full time road schooling, again, we would love to hear about your experiences and share that with our readers. We'd love to have you do a guest blog post on the Schiller Learning homeschool blog. Okay, next week is the anticipated Math Kit 1 walkthrough. We are really looking forward to that. Awesome. I am glad that you enjoyed the ideas and took notes. Super. Thank you. And I think that is going to wrap it up. And then we do want to hear about your educational travels, even if you're not selling your home and living in a boat for a couple of years. We'd love to hear about how you make the most of time on the road, no matter the duration of that time, how you make the most of that in the educational opportunities for the kids. Oh, and thank you for that feedback. And if you would like to reply to the email if you have suggestions um, of what else you would like to see as far as tips on road schooling. Reply to the email that had the link to this, and we would love to get your feedback on that. Thank you. Okay, guys, I will see you next week for the Math Kit 1 walkthrough. Thanks so much. Take care.